Hi everyone, welcome back to another video on Simply BS. So today our discussion is going to be about brands, which is an interesting topic to discuss, right? So let's take things forward, right? So if I ask you about brands, right? At that particular instance, there are ample amount of world-renowned brands that will come into your mind. Like you have Nike, you have Apple, then you have Google, Starbucks, BMW, right? So likewise, you have world-renowned brands that you know. Now, our discussion is what is a brand, right? What is a brand? So let's take our discussion ahead. First, let's look at the definition of a brand. Okay. Now, what is a brand? A brand is actually a name, a symbol, a design, or a combination of all these things that will create a unique identity for your product. Now, at the end of the day, if you have a good brand, that will differentiate your product from your competitors' product. Now, if you take Nike, right? I think everyone knows about Nike. So, Nike is a global sportswear manufacturing company. So, when we talk about the brand of Nike, what comes to my mind first is the swoosh symbol that you have, the swoosh symbol that you get to find in a Nike logo. Now, if you talk about this Nike swoosh symbol a bit, now this swoosh symbol is like a wing, right? So actually, it is been inspired by the wing of the Greek goddess of victory, right? And it symbolizes speed, movement, power, and victory, right? Now, Nike has a story to tell through its brand. Now, when it comes to brands, the other thing is good brands. Good brands will build trust among customers. So, good brands will register their names in the minds of the consumer. So, ultimately, trust is built, recognition is built, and it will lead to more customer loyalty. All right, students. So now you have a very good understanding about the fundamentals of brands. Now let's take our discussion ahead. Now let's talk about the main elements of a brand. Now, in order to explain you the main elements of a brand, I have taken McDonald's as an example. So everyone knows about McDonald's, right? The first element of a brand is the brand name. Very simply, students, this is the pronounceable part of a brand. So, as you can see, McDonald's, uh, the wording, the wording McDonald's is actually the brand name of McDonald's. Then let's move on to the second element of a brand, which is called the brand mark. Now, brand mark is actually the visual design or the symbol of a brand. Now, when it comes to McDonald's, right, you have the two golden arches, right? So that's the brand mark of McDonald's. Now, the speciality of this brand mark is the brand mark will create a strong visual identity for the brand. Now, when you're traveling in the road, right, uh, you get to find these two golden arches on a tall structure from a distance, right? And you instantly recognize, this is McDonald's, right? But you don't have the McDonald's brand name also visible, but you instantly recognize because of the brand mark. This is McDonald's. So that's the speciality of a brand mark or a unique brand mark, right? Now let's talk about the third element of a brand. We can call it as the tagline, or in other words, sometimes we can call it as the slogan as well, right? So what is this tagline or the slogan? This is actually a short phrase which communicates the purpose and the promise of a particular brand. Now, if you take McDonald's, all of you all know it. Uh, the tagline of McDonald's is "I'm loving it." Okay, so that tagline promises to give uh, happiness to anyone who is coming to McDonald's. And on top of that, if you take other brands like Nike, you have the slogan as "Just do it," right? And then when it comes to Apple, so it's about think different. Think different is the slogan or the tagline of Apple, right? So that's actually the tagline or the slogan of a brand. Then the fourth element of a brand is actually uh, some brands will be connected with a particular character or a mascot, right? Now when it comes to McDonald's, I think all of you all have seen uh, Ronald McDonald, right, which is actually a fictional clown who is in a yellow color jumpsuit in front of the McDonald's restaurant. Okay, so basically this uh, mascot attracts, right, attracts families and very especially the kids, right? So that's actually the fourth element of a brand, where the brand is connected to a particular character or a mascot. And the next element of a brand is actually the typography and the color which is being used by a brand, right? So brand typography means the font that is being used by a brand. So basically every brand will have a standard set of fonts and also standard set of colors as well. Now if you take uh, Facebook, Facebook is connected with blue color. Then if you take Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola is actually connected with red color, right? So there are standard brand colors that you have, and also the fonts or the typography will also be a standard. So irrespective of what country the brand is promoted or marketed, those fonts and those colors it won't change, right? Right. So students, these are the main elements of a brand. So we discussed brand name, the brand mark, and then the slogan, the tagline, brands which are connected with a character or a mascot, and the brand typography, the font and the colors, right? Now with reference to the brand, there's another thing that you all need to understand. Now if you look at a brand, now you all know brand is a unique thing for your product, for your business organization. It symbolizes your business organization. So in that case, students, when it comes to brands, right, there are possibilities where your competitors or some external parties might copy your brand. There could be possibilities because your brand is a very well known brand. recognition is there, trust is there. Someone might copy your brand, someone might copy the name of your brand, someone might copy the brand mark of your brand or the slogan. So there could be some people who would copy your brand. Now that is a risk for your brand. In order to mitigate all those risks, we can actually legally register our brand, right? Based on the jurisdiction that you do your business, you can register your brand. So once the brand is registered, right, we can call the brand as a trademark, right? We can call the brand as a trademark when the brand is registered. So once your brand is registered, students, you get a lot of exclusive rights for your brand, right? And also it will protect your brand from others copying. Okay, so these are the main elements of a brand. So now, since we have a very good understanding, now let's take things forward. All right, students. Now we do have a very good understanding about what is a brand, and also we do have a very good understanding about the main elements of a brand. So now we are gonna discuss about the main characteristics of a good brand. What are the main characteristics of a world renowned brand? So let's take the discussion ahead. Right. So I have identified 6 major characteristics of a good brand. Right. So I have given you some examples also. Right. The first main characteristic of a brand is the brand has to be short and simple. Right. So which means when it comes to a brand, right, it should be easy for you to understand. It should be easy for you to recall, and there should be no any errors when it comes to spellings and pronunciation. Now if you take the brand of Pepsi, everyone knows about Pepsi, right? Now look how the brand is simple. So they have used only 3 colors: red, black, white, and blue. So obviously they have used 4 colors, right? Very simple, right? uh, the word Pepsi, everyone can pronounce it, right? So it's very short and simple, right? So that's the first characteristic of a good brand. Then the second characteristic of a good brand is a brand should be easy to recognize and remember, right? Now now if you have a difficult name, right, for a brand, right, a complicated brand mark, then that will lead to a lot of confusions. And now if you look at the brand of Apple, so Apple is a word that we use on our daily basis. So it's very easy to remember. It won't create any confusion. And if you look at the what do you call the brand mark of Apple also, right, it's not very complicated to understand. Okay, so that's the second uh, characteristic of a brand. Then what is the third characteristic of a good brand? A brand should give a small understanding about the basic qualities, usefulness, and the features of the product. Okay, right? Now if you take Facebook as an example, right, the brand name Facebook itself says it's a platform where a lot of faces will meet each other. Right? So that's the brand name of Facebook itself says, right? So likewise your brand should be able to convey a message or give a hint about the basic qualities and the usefulness of the product. Then if you move on to the fourth characteristic of a brand is a brand should be easy to recognize internationally, right? Now, there are global brands, right, which are not restricted to one country, but the brands are actually promoted in a lot of countries. So in that case, your brand should be recognized internationally as well, right? So there should be no any what do you call negative meanings that should come when the brand names are translated, right? So that is called easy to recognize in the international market. Now, if you take the brand KFC, so very simple, right? You have only three letters K, F, and C, right? So that won't create any confusions even in the international markets when it is translated, right? Next, we have the fourth characteristic of a good brand. A brand should differentiate itself from the competitors, right? From the competitors, okay, right? So this, of course, we discussed in our first slide also, right? A brand will create a unique identity, and through that identity, it will anyway differentiate your brand from the other competitors, right? Now, if you take as an example Amazon, right? So Amazon, it's a e-commerce giant in the world, right? So if you take Amazon, or if you hear the word Amazon itself, it signifies the vastness, right? The variety, how big it is. The word itself, it says, right? And also, there's another thing that you want to recognize in the Amazon. What do you call this logo, right? There's a what do you call arrow, right, which connects A and C, right? So the arrow is from A to C, right? The arrow is drawn from A to C, right, like a small smiley, right? So this emphasizes, right, this emphasizes Amazon sells everything from A to Z. There you go. Look how nicely they have done it. From A to C, they have a what do you call smile arrow, right? All right. The sixth characteristic of a good brand is a brand is connected with a culture, and that particular brand should represent that culture as well. Now, when it comes to culture and brands, the best example that will come to my mind is actually Toyota, right? So when it comes to Toyota, right, is a Japanese automobile manufacturer, right? So when it comes to Japan, uh, it signifies as the technology, right? It signifies as the technology. So Toyota brand itself portrays the uh, the Japanese quality, the precision, and the prestige of it. Okay, right. So these are the main characteristics that you can get to find in a good brand, right? Now, even though I have said examples, right? In the future, you might also start your own business, right? So for your business to be highlighted, right, or differentiated from the other competitor, you got to have a very good brand. So you can actually take these 6 points, right, and you can create a good brand for yourself in the future, right? Okay, so so yeah, I think we had a very good discussion about brands, right? We had a very good discussion about brands, right? So before we wind up, now this branding or brands are not only connected to business organizations, right? You can also create your brand for yourself, right? Okay? You can also create your brand for yourself, right? Right. So found, I mean, you can find your strengths, and you can work on those strengths, and you can create a uniqueness for yourself. So then ultimately that will be your brand, right? So that I just want to emphasize, branding is not only limited to business organizations or products, but for you also you can build a brand. So we can call it as personal branding, right? So you can get some insights from this lesson for that as well, of how you can portray yourself differently in the society among others, right? So this is a lesson, right, for business organizations as well as for your life as well.